Elias Kane sat in his shadowed apartment, the hum of a distant siren threading through the silence. His calloused fingers traced the chipped edge of a ceramic mug, its faint coffee scent mingling with the musty air. A pediatric surgeon, Elias lived for precision, yet his world felt like a scalpel slipping off course. His daughter, Lila, slept in the next room, her soft breaths a fragile anchor in his unraveling life. The nanny, Nora Vale, had been a godsend, her warm smile and deft hands taming Lila's chaos. But tonight, Elias's gut churned. He'd glimpsed Nora's phone, a message flashing, *meet me. Midnight. Don't tell him, *, the words burned into him, a splinter of doubt. Was Nora betraying him? His mind spiraled, replaying her gentle laughter, the way her hazel eyes held secrets. The apartment's dim light flickered, casting jagged shadows across a cracked pocket watch on the table. His late wife's, stopped at 3:17. It was a relic of love lost, now a silent accusation. Elias's chest tightened, his pulse a muted drumbeat. He needed answers, but the cost of truth loomed like the storm outside. Elias's breath caught as he slipped Nora's phone back onto the counter, its screen now dark but its message a live wire in his mind. He moved silently, his surgeon's hands steady despite the tremor in his chest. The kitchen clock ticked toward midnight, each second a hammer against his resolve. He recalled Nora's arrival 6 months ago, her resume pristine, her references glowing. She'd woven herself into their lives, her lavender scent lingering in Lila's drawings. But the message shattered that trust. Elias crept to the window, peering through the rain. Nora's figure emerged below, her coat a black slash against the wet street. She glanced up, her face pale under a street lamp, then hurried toward a shadowed alley. His mind raced. Lila needed her, but deception was a poison he couldn't ignore. He grabbed his jacket, the cracked pocket watch heavy in his pocket. This wasn't just betrayal, it was a thread to something deeper, a mystery coiled in Nora's guarded eyes. Elias stepped into the storm, the rain cold against his skin, his purpose sharp as a blade. He'd follow her, uncover the truth, no matter where it led. The alley reeked of damp concrete and rust, the air thick with the city's pulse. Elias pressed against a brick wall, his breath shallow, watching Nora meet a man in a gray overcoat. The stranger's face was obscured, his gesture sharp, urgent. Nora's posture stiffened, her hands clenching as she leaned closer, her voice a low murmur swallowed by the rain. Elias's heart pounded, each beat a question: lover, accomplice, or something worse. The man slipped her a small, glinting object, and her fingers closed around it like a secret. Elias's mind flashed to his wife, her death 2 years ago in a car crash, the police report too clean, too final. Nora had never spoken of her past, but her ease with Lila, her quiet intensity, felt like a puzzle half solved. The cracked pocket watch seemed to burn in his pocket, its stopped hands a reminder of truths left buried. As the man vanished into the fog, Nora turned, her eyes locking onto Elias's hiding spot. Her gaze held no surprise, only a flicker of something deeper: guilt, fear, or defiance. She walked away, and Elias knew, this was no simple affair. He was already too deep to turn back. Elias moved through the city's veins, the rain-slicked streets reflecting fractured neon. His surgeon's hands, steady in the operating room, now twitched with restless energy, the cracked pocket watch a lead weight in his coat. Nora's secret meeting gnawed at him, her guarded eyes a cipher he couldn't crack. Lila's laughter echoed in his mind, her trust in Nora absolute, yet Elias's world had tilted. He tailed Nora to her apartment, a crumbling walk-up across town, its peeling paint and flickering hallway light screaming neglect. Inside his car, he watched her window, the curtain's faint sway betraying her presence. His mind churned. A memory of his wife, Mara, surfaced, her jasmine perfume, her voice humming Lila to sleep. The police had called her crash an accident, but doubts had always lingered, sharp as glass. Now, Nora's lie was a blade, cutting open old wounds. Elias needed to know what she hid, for Lila's sake, for his own sanity. He stepped out, the cold biting his skin, each step toward her building a defiance of the life he'd rebuilt. The watch's stopped hands seemed to pulse, urging him deeper into the unknown. Elias slipped into Nora's building, the stairwell reeking of mildew and stale cigarettes. A neighbor, an older man with sunken eyes, watched him from a doorway, his cigarette's ember glowing like a warning. Elias nodded, masking his intent, and the man Otto, he said, grunted, offering a name but little else. Otto's gaze lingered, as if he knew Nora's secrets but wouldn't spill. At her door, Elias hesitated, the glinting object from the alley flashing in his mind. He knocked, soft but firm, and Nora opened it, her face a mask of calm that didn't reach her eyes. She stepped aside, letting him in, her lavender scent clashing with the apartment's damp chill. The room was sparse, a single photo of a young girl on the mantel. Nora, perhaps, or someone lost. Elias pressed her about the midnight meeting, his voice low, steady, but her answers were vague, her hands fidgeting. Otto's cough echoed from the hall, a reminder of eyes watching. Nora's reluctance was a wall, but her glance at the photo hinted at a crack. Elias sensed an ally in Otto, however reluctant, and a deeper game in Nora's silence. Elias left Nora's apartment, her half-truths a bitter taste. She'd admitted to meeting someone but claimed it was personal, unrelated to Lila. He didn't believe her. The cracked pocket watch felt heavier, its frozen hands a taunt. Mara's death, Nora's lies, all tangled in his mind. Back home, Lila slept, unaware of the storm brewing. Elias sat by her bed, her small hand warm in his, the weight of protecting her crushing. He recalled Mara's accident report, the skid marks that never added up, the officer's rushed dismissal. Digging into Nora's past meant risking Lila's stability. She adored Nora, her drawings filled with her smile. But ignorance was a greater threat. Elias's phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number, *, stop following her. You're not ready for the truth, *, his pulse spiked, the words a cold blade. Someone knew he was digging. The watch's cracked face stared back, a symbol of time stalled, truths buried. Elias's resolve hardened, but the cost was clear. Pursuing this mystery might unravel the fragile world he'd built for his daughter. Elias stood in his apartment's dim kitchen, the cracked pocket watch glinting under the fluorescent hum. The anonymous text, * stop following her *, burned in his memory, its threat a cold weight. He'd spent the night scouring old files, Mara's accident report now a map of inconsistencies, mismatched timelines, a witness who vanished. Nora's lies were no longer just personal, they were a thread to something larger, something that tied to Mara's death. His mind replayed Nora's apartment, the photo of the young girl, her haunted eyes mirroring Nora's. A memory surged, Mara, weeks before the crash, tense, whispering about a case she'd stumbled into at her law firm. Elias had dismissed it then, consumed by surgeries and Lila's cries. Now, Nora's midnight meeting and the glinting object felt like pieces of Mara's puzzle. He hacked into Nora's email, his surgeon's precision guiding his fingers. One message, buried in a deleted folder, stopped his breath. Asterisk, the evidence is safe. They don't suspect you yet. Asterisk, it was addressed to an alias, signed with a single initial R. The revelation gutted him. Nora wasn't just hiding an affair, she was entangled in whatever had killed Mara. Elias's pulse thundered as he paced, the watch's weight a constant pull. The email's implications choked him. Nora was linked to Mara's death, but how deeply? He could confront her, risk her fleeing, or worse, endangering Lila. Or he could dig deeper, alone, in the shadows. His mind flashed to Lila, her trusting smile as Nora braided her hair. Exposing Nora meant shattering Lila's world, but letting her stay was a gamble with stakes too high. Otto's words from the stairwell echoed, "She's not what you think." The old man knew something, his cigarette's ember a beacon in the fog. Elias chose he'd follow the alias, R, and unearth the truth himself. He slipped the watch into his pocket, its cracked face a reminder of what he'd lost and what he still could. He texted Otto, arranging a meet at a diner, his fingers trembling. The decision felt like cutting into flesh, necessary, but bloody. Nora's lavender scent lingered in his mind, now laced with betrayal, as he stepped into the night, ready to face whatever are revealed. The diner smelled of burnt coffee and grease, its neon sign buzzing outside. Otto sat in a corner booth, his weathered face half-lit, cigarette replaced by a toothpick he chewed with grim focus. Elias slid in, the cracked pocket watch pressed against his thigh. Otto spoke low, his voice gravelly, hinting at Nora's past. A sister, lost years ago, tied to a case Mara had worked. Otto's eyes darted, wary of unseen watchers. He slid Elias a crumpled note with an address, warning him to go alone. Elias's chest tightened, this was it, no turning back. He drove to the address, a derelict warehouse, its rusted gates creaking in the wind. Inside, shadows swallowed the light, and a figure waited R, cloaked in darkness. Elias's hand gripped the watch, its stopped hands a silent vow. He stepped forward, the air thick with dust and danger, knowing this confrontation would burn his old life to ash. Lila's safety, Mara's truth, hung in the balance, and he'd cut through the lies to reach them. Elias stood outside the warehouse, the rain a cold shroud against his skin, the cracked pocket watch heavy in his palm. Its frozen hands glinted under a flickering street lamp, a relic of Mara's life now anchoring his resolve. The address Otto gave him pulsed in his mind, a beacon to truths he wasn't sure he could face. Inside, Lila slept under Nora's care, oblivious to the storm her father chased. Elias's thoughts churned Mara's case, Nora's sister, the alias R. Each fragment cut deeper, threatening the fragile world he'd built for his daughter. He recalled Mara's voice, sharp with fear, warning of people who'd kill to keep secrets. The warehouse loomed, its rusted facade a silent challenge. Elias breathed deeply, the air thick with oil and decay, steadying his surgeon's hands. This was the edge, the moment before everything changed. He tucked the watch away, its weight a vow to protect Lila, to uncover what Mara died for. The door creaked as he pushed it open, stepping into darkness. The warehouse reeked of rust and damp earth, its cavernous interior swallowing sound. Elias moved through shadows, his pulse a steady drum. A figure emerged, a wiry man with sharp eyes, his coat dusted with grime. His voice was low, accusing, tying Nora to a syndicate Mara had exposed. Elias's mind reeled. Mara's law firm had uncovered money laundering, and Nora's sister was a casualty, a whistleblower silenced. R's words were a blade. Nora was protecting evidence, not betraying Elias, but her loyalty was fractured. The glinting object from the alley was a key to a safe deposit box, Mara's last stand. A noise footsteps cut the air. R tensed, drawing a gun, but Elias lunged, his surgeon's precision disarming him. The key skittered across the floor, glinting in a shaft of light. R fled, but Nora appeared, her face pale, eyes wide with fear and defiance. She'd followed Elias, her presence a confrontation of its own. The watch in his pocket seemed to burn, its stopped hands screaming of time running out. Elias clutched the key, its edges biting his palm, as Nora's gaze locked onto his. Her lavender scent clashed with the warehouse's decay, her silence louder than any confession. She admitted hiding the truth to protect Lila, but her sister's death had driven her to finish Mara's work. Elias's heart-fractured Nora wasn't the enemy, but her secrecy had endangered his daughter. He could turn her over, end this now, but the syndicate would come for Lila next. His mind flashed to Lila's drawings, Nora's face in every one. He handed her the key, a silent pact to trust her, to let her vanish with the evidence. The sacrifice was a blade through him. Losing Nora meant losing Lila's anchor, but keeping her safe demanded it. As Nora slipped into the shadows, Elias felt the watch's weight, its cracked face a mirror of his broken trust. He'd faced the syndicate alone, for Lila, for Mara, no matter the cost. Elias stood in the warehouse's hollow silence, the key's absence a phantom ache in his hand. Nora was gone, her lavender scent fading into the damp air, leaving only the echo of her footsteps. The cracked pocket watch ticked in his mind, though its hands remained still, a relic of Mara's truth now heavy with Nora's sacrifice. Outside, the rain had stopped, the city's neon pulse muted under a gray dawn. Elias's chest tightened, his surgeon's precision useless against the chaos of betrayal and loss. Lila's face haunted him, her trust in Nora, now a wound he'd have to mend. He drove home, the streets slick and empty, each mile a reckoning. The syndicate loomed, their threat no longer a shadow but a blade at his throat. Mara's death, Nora's sister, the key, all threads in a web he'd barely unraveled. The watch's cracked face glinted in his pocket, a reminder of what he'd lost and what he still had to protect. Lila was his anchor, and he'd shield her, no matter the cost. Elias entered the apartment, the air thick with the scent of Lila's crayons and coffee grounds. She slept, her small form curled under blankets, unaware of the storm that had passed. He sat by her bed, his hands trembling, the watch's weight a quiet vow. Nora's absence was a void, but her choice to take the key had bought them time. Elias had called Otto, who'd promised to watch the streets, his gravelly voice hinting at old debts to Mara. The syndicate hadn't come yet, but their shadow lingered. Elias's mind replayed Mara's final days, her frantic notes, her fear of them. He'd failed her then, but not Lila. He enrolled her in a new daycare, each step a brick in a new wall around their lives. The watch stayed close, its cracked face no longer just loss but a symbol of survival. Elias's world was smaller now, sharper, built on the truth he'd clawed from the dark. He'd never stop watching, waiting, but for now, Lila's soft breaths were enough. Elias stood at the apartment window, the city sprawling below, its lights a map of secrets kept and truths unearthed. The cracked pocket watch rested on the sill, its stopped hands catching the first rays of sunrise. He traced its edges, feeling Mara's presence, Nora's sacrifice, and Lila's fragile trust. The syndicate hadn't struck, but Elias knew they watched, their silence a coiled threat. A memory flickered Mara's laugh, Lila's tiny hand in hers, a moment frozen like the watch. Nora had carried Mara's fight, her own sister's death a mirror to that loss. Elias would carry it now, for Lila. He tucked the watch away, its cracked face no longer a wound but a beacon, guiding him through the shadows. Lila stirred behind him, her voice a sleepy hum. Elias turned, the city's pulse fading, her small smile grounding him. The mystery wasn't solved, but he'd face it, one careful step at a time.